There is much uncertainty about the future of our nation and the world. There are things happening in this country and worldwide that aren't being reported by the mainstream media. I think there are many Christians, including me, who sense we are quickly entering into a time of unrest. Many Christians, including me again, also sense there is a great persecution of Christians on the horizon. What was written in the book of Revelation is about to play out, but not all Christians will be persecuted. There are two groups, those who will and those who will escape. Why is that? And how can you be part of the group that escapes? I'm going to show you right now. Hey, I'm author Michael Ramsey, and this is Michael Ramsey Books, where I show people how to transform their ordinary relationship with God into a spiritual one. If you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure to hit the red subscribe button and ring the notification bell now. In the first century, there were two persecutions. The first was the persecution of Nero. In the year 64, there was a great fire in Rome. The citizens blamed Emperor Nero. Nero, in turn, blamed the Christians. The second persecution, which began in the year 89, was the Great Persecution of Domitian. There wasn't an excuse this time. Emperor Domitian was a man who was simply evil to the core. He committed every type of immorality known to man and murdered people just for fun. He wanted everyone, especially Christians, to worship him. In the Gospels, Jesus foretold of the persecution. Other epistles in the New Testament also foretold of it. But for now, we'll focus on the letters to the 7 churches in the first few chapters of Revelation, which was actually written during the time of the Great Persecution of Domitian. As I talked about in other videos, the Bible is a book of models. Events that happened in the New Testament are modeled in detail in the Old. For example, Abraham sacrificing his son Isaac is a model of God the Father sacrificing his son Jesus. The high priest of Israel setting aside his elaborate robes and donning a tunic to make atonement for sins. This is a model of Jesus setting aside his immortal nature and donning an earthly body to make atonement for the sins of the world. The flood of Noah is a model of baptism, 1 Peter 3:21. And by the way, if anyone tells you that baptism doesn't save you, if they say, as many churches do, that baptism is just an act of obedience, a work, a formality, they are sadly mistaken. They are deceived by Satan. In each of these models, we're given details and insights we wouldn't have known otherwise. Everything is enlarged as you would blow up a photograph. The same could be said about the first few chapters of Revelation, but this time the model is slightly different. The model isn't in the Old Testament, it's in the New, and the fulfillment of it will be in the near future. But when you understand what occurred in the first century was the model, it's much easier to see what the future has in store for us. In Revelation 2:10, to the church at Smyrna, Jesus says, John writes, Do not fear what you are about to suffer. Behold, the devil is about to throw some of you into prison so that you will be tested. To the church in Thyatira, in Revelation 2:21, Jesus says, John writes, to the Christian who were caught up in sexual immorality, I gave her time to repent, and she does not want to repent of her sexual immorality. Consequently, I will throw her into a bed of sickness, and those who commit adultery with her into the great tribulation, unless they repent. To the church in Sardis, in Revelation 3:3, Jesus says, John writes, remember what you have received and heard, and keep it, and repent, because if you're not alert, I will come like a thief, and you won't know the hour I'm coming. In other words, you're going to be left behind. And guess what's going to happen to you next? But then we come to the church in Philadelphia. In Revelation 3:10, Jesus says, John writes, because you have kept my word of perseverance, I will keep you from the hour of the testing, that hour which is about to come upon the whole world, to test those who live upon the earth. Now, there is great confusion about the second coming. Some people surmise that the second coming has already come and gone in the first century. Some people think the letters to the 7 churches hasn't happened yet. In other words, it's symbolic of something in the future. But none of these theories and many others which are even more bizarre are correct. The truth is, these passages speak of what was and what is to come. What was is the model. What will be is the fulfillment. In the model, as was the case when Abraham sacrificed Isaac, the sacrifice was not completed. Why? Because it was the model. But when Jesus came, it was fulfilled. In the case of these letters, the model is not yet complete either. Jesus has not come again, but when the model is fulfilled, which it will be soon, he will most definitely come again. In the upcoming months or years, we don't know the exact time, but we do know there will be another great persecution. We also know if you have sin in your life, if there's any sexual immorality, for example, if you're not eagerly awaiting and watching for Jesus to come again, you'll be left behind. But for your own benefit. Yes, for your own benefit. It's not the Lord's desire to see you suffer. But if by your suffering, because of the Lord's great loving kindness, you repent and are purified, then ultimately you will be saved. You'll spend eternity with Him. But why wait? Why wait until it's too late? Why wait until the Lord has already come? Why wait until you're left behind? Repent and come to Jesus now. Let Him purify you now. Revelation 3:11, I am coming quickly. Hold fast to what you have, so that no one will take your crown. Next time, next step. Again, if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, be sure and do so now. That way you don't miss a single video. Can't wait until next time. Like me on Facebook and visit me at michaelramseybooks.com.